Hello, my name is Dr. Caroline Walker. I'm an NHS-based psychiatrist and a full-time doctor's wellbeing specialist. And I'm making a series of videos about the emotional impact of COVID-19 on doctors. Today I want to talk in this video about the emotional impact of PPE. Now I know for many of us, I think we hope that we never have to hear those letters again in our lifetimes. It's like it's everywhere, it's all consuming, and there are so many difficult emotions attached to this particular issue in relation to COVID-19 that it's really quite tough. And today I want to spend a bit of time just talking through some of the things that I've been hearing from doctors about the emotional impact of PPE, because it isn't just one issue, it's affecting us in lots and lots of different ways emotionally. So I'm hearing from a lot of doctors obviously about the fear and the anxiety of just working in a way that exposes us to a virus that might kill us or harm us, or kill or harm our loved ones in some way. And that is just the most normal and natural fear you could possibly have in this given situation. So there's a lot of doctors out there who are very scared, and not just doctors, as I do most of my videos, you know, I make for doctors, but this applies to anybody affected by the need to wear PPE in their current day-to-day lives at the moment. So there's a lot of fear coming from having to work and having to face the possibility that you may, even with the best PPE in the world, even with the best practice and way of using it in the world, you are still exposing yourself to a potential pathogen that could kill you, and that is a really natural fear to have. I'm hearing from a lot of doctors who are feeling very angry, very outraged, frustrated about the lack of provision of PPE, or the difficulties they're having in accessing PPE, feeling very let down, very hurt and very angry that those people who they feel ought to be taking responsibility and providing them and protecting them at this time as they do their work aren't able to do that for whatever reason. And there's a lot of anger about that, and the feeling of being blamed as well sometimes, that there's been times when doctors have felt that they, you know, somehow for example been given the message that they're not using it correctly, and that somehow has something to do with it, and absolutely, again, just completely understandable that you would be really angry and outraged at that. And this is something we feel anger for ourselves being put at this risk, but we also feel it on behalf of our colleagues and on behalf of our loved ones and on behalf of our patients, who we ultimately desperately want to protect and keep safe as well. So a lot of anger, and a lot of anger about things not adding up. So things being said perhaps in the national press or on the news or by people in positions of power which don't perhaps add up to what you're experiencing on the ground. So again, a really you know, understandable feeling given that unfairness, that unjustness of that happening. I'm hearing quite a lot from doctors about a sense of aversion. They just do not want to talk about, do not want to hear any more about PPE, and I'm surprised if you're even listening this far into this video. And in a way, I almost didn't want to make the video, because it's like, actually, when we don't have to talk about it, why would we? Because it's just everywhere at the moment, and it's too much. And so a lot of doctors feeling like, oh, I wish I just didn't have to even think about this anymore. There's a lot of doctors feeling very guilty around PPE. So a lot of doctors who've perhaps got enough supply but know that their colleagues are out there working without adequate supply, feeling incredibly guilty. Also some feeling guilty because they're actually this level of work, this type of work, is bringing a certain amount of enjoyment or fulfillment for them, that they're actually, and they're feeling very guilty about that. So maybe they're actually enjoying having to work in different ways and learn new skills and being able to save people who are critically ill, and yet feeling incredibly guilty for having that positive emotion attached to the experience as well. There's also an incredible number of doctors already facing what we would call moral injury, and I'm going to do another video about moral injury because this is a wide-ranging topic that we're all going to be facing more and more as this pandemic evolves and continues. But essentially, this is when you're faced with having to do something that goes against your belief system. So this was, for example, with PPE, it would be if there was a patient dying in front of you, but you couldn't go in to help them and give them the care that they so desperately need and deserve because you don't have adequate protection. So you're being forced to make that decision between your life and their life, or your life and your patients' lives and your loved ones' lives for them. And that is an incredibly difficult thing for a doctor or a healthcare professional to do, because we are absolutely in our hearts programmed to want to care for others and keep them safe, and we are, as doctors, it's our duty to care for our patients and keep them safe. So to have to face that, even the possibility that that might happen, is really, really difficult for doctors. There's also a lot of physical consequences of using PPE, which are causing a lot of emotional distress. So PPE is incredibly dehydrating to wear. It's very difficult to wear for any length of time. It's incredibly claustrophobic. So a lot of doctors feeling really uncomfortable using it and wearing it, and feeling very, very uncomfortable. It's affecting people's skin around, so particularly around nose and ears, and, mask wearing. And that people are finding really quite distressing and quite difficult emotionally. So physical discomfort and pain and anxiety, and it's almost like a permanent reminder of this awful job that you can't just take the PPE off and go home and forget about it, because actually you're still reminded of it every time your nose hurts, or something like that. So lots of physical stuff going on as well around PPE that's affecting our emotional well-being as health professionals. I'm also hearing from some doctors about a sense of sadness, a sense of longing for how work and how life used to be before PPE, and a missing of that work, and particularly missing the normal human connection that they would have with patients. I mean, I'm hearing this from a lot of anaesthetists who, I think we've perhaps thought would be really quite suited to this work because this is what they do day in, day out, actually finding it really tough because they're engaging and connecting with human beings in a very, very different way. Patients are in a very different physical and emotional state to what they would normally be in day-to-day working life, and lots of heartbreaking stories about the importance and the intensity of eye contact being made between patients and their doctors, or patients and their caregivers, because PPE often it's the only bit that the patient can see, and there's something that it just intensifies that moment where you're looking into your patient's eyes and they're looking back at you. And I read a heartbreaking blog I'm going to be sharing later on my social media pages from a doctor in New York talking about the eyes stay with us, and then that is incredibly true, and I think a lot of doctors can relate to that from previous times when they've perhaps worked with a patient where it's really stayed with them. So that's something we're hearing a lot of as well from doctors and healthcare professionals at the moment. There's something about this eye contact and that's incredibly emotive and powerful and challenging. And this isn't just happening at work. Doctors are carrying these emotional issues around PPE with them all the time at the moment, and it's invading their dreams. They're having nightmares, and suddenly people in their dreams are wearing PPE, so there's almost no escape from it as well. So it really is a very very, very difficult emotional issue, as well as obviously being a very important practical issue around practical physical safety. PPE, I'm finding, is having a really massive impact emotionally for doctors and healthcare professionals at the moment. So what's helpful if you're experiencing some of these emotions around PPE yourself? Well, what's going to help you is going to differ depending on what you're feeling, and you may feel and have identified with everything I've just shared, and you may have those different feelings at different stages. So I'm just going to whistle stop tour and give my top tips for if you're feeling these particular emotions. So if you're feeling fearful and anxious around PPE, like you're not getting enough of it, or you're scared about catching the illness, then please know that this is a normal fear to have, because this is a real threat. Okay, this is not some silly anxiety or some silly fear that you can just kind of rethink and wash away. Actually, this is a very real threat. So it's completely normal and natural to be feeling anxious. And number 2, keep yourself safe. There is lots of very clear guidance from lots and lots of organisations, including the GMC, the BMA, the medical defence unions, the health education union. Everybody is very clear that you do not need to unnecessarily put yourself at risk in order to treat your patients. Now, that may lead you to some very difficult things, and we're going to come on to that and talking about moral injury in a minute. But please remember, if you're fearful and you're anxious, please remember it's entirely appropriate that you should be, because this is a real threat. And please do keep yourself safe. And if that means you do not have adequate protection, then that means not putting yourself at risk. Anger. If you're feeling anger, then it's really important with anger. It's a very, very helpful and powerful emotion. It's really important that you vent it, and vent it in a healthy way. And I've done another video on anger and healthy ways to vent anger, so please check that out. Also, redirect some of that energy into something useful. So if you're, a bit angry that you haven't got enough PPE, maybe there's something you can do to try to make that situation better, or maybe redirecting that anger into redirecting it into something healthier. So maybe you go for a really big angry run, and actually that then helps you to feel more relaxed and then able to face the day and to make the tough decisions that you need to around what to do if you don't have adequate PPE. So anger, again, very, very normal. Please vent it and maybe try and get that energy out in a more positive way. Guilt. Please know that it is okay. You're probably feeling guilty because you're a good person and you care and you want to help and you don't want to see your colleagues suffering with lack of PPE. If you're getting physical problems, please, there are solutions out there. Search online, talk to people. There are lots of amazing things, really creative things that people are coming up with to protect the bridges of noses and ears, and there are things that are going to help. So if that is bothering you, please do get some help and support with that. If you're feeling an aversion, you've just had enough, cannot stand the letters PPE anymore, don't want to hear it, switch off from your, watch less news, look on social media less. Like, seriously, do expose yourself to those words and those letters less, because they take on a whole new crazy mushroomed importance and meaning, and I think we have to try and kind of gain back a little bit of control around those letters and those words and everything that's going on around them, to try and to not let them drive us mad. So yeah, if you're getting an aversion to it, then please try to switch off and do interact with that wording less. My number one tip overall, whatever it is you're struggling with around PPE and the emotional side of PPE, is please do not just go through this on your own. You are not on your own with this. I promise you, whatever you are feeling, whatever you're going through around PPE, somebody else out there is feeling as well, and probably thousands of people are feeling, if not millions right now. So please just share it. Know that you're not alone. And yeah, do reach out for support if you need. Again, I'm just going to quickly signpost the Practitioner Health website here in the UK, which has the national support helplines on there, the 24-hour text support line, and lots of free resources. So please do get in touch, and please email me at caroline@joyfuldoctor.com if I can help you in any way. I hope this video has been helpful for you. It's obviously a big topic to cover, but I just wanted to let any of you out there know that are struggling with this issue of PP for whatever reason, whatever emotion it's bringing up for you, it is okay, and there are things that you can do. I will leave it there for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye.